Hey everyone, Ethan here with another video for you guys today. Now, this is actually going to be my durability overview of my LG V20. I've had it for about 6 months now. It's holding up pretty well, but I want to give you guys a little bit more detail. First, I'll say the reason you see a cord plugged into it, though, I actually record to this with my lav mic because it's the Rode Smart Lav. I actually have a video that you guys can check out up here. But anyway, point is, if you notice that cable, that's why. So before I actually get into the physical durability of this device, which is overall pretty good, I actually want to talk about how it's held up software-wise, which is something I think a lot of people miss when they actually talk about maybe, you know, a 6 month or 3 month or a year later review of a phone. Is they talk about, they forget to talk about the software, and the software really is one of the important things about Android, where a lot of people have noticed that, you know, Android does get slower over time as you use it. The more things you install, the more stuff you do, and it maybe can even become less stable. That's something that, you know, has happened to me to a lot of phones. And so I actually want to go ahead and brush up on that on this. So software-wise, when it comes to like overall stability and like maybe crashing and stuff, it's been very good. I've had it crash on me maybe once over the last 6 months, which is pretty good. You know, even my Galaxy S7 Edge crashed on me more than this did. So when it comes to stability, LG's got that down really well. It is working totally fine, even though I have a ton of stuff installed in this and I use it for all kinds of random different things. Now, when it comes though to overall like performance and how fast it feels, I will admit it's slowed down more than I'd like it to. It slowed down more than my S7 Edge did, or even than my BlackBerry Priv, I had one of those, did. It definitely, it's kind of random, the slowness though. It'll just like, it feels like when I'm doing stuff. So this is an octa-core CPU here, it has 8 cores. It's actually 2 quad cores. It's a lightweight quad core and a heavy duty quad core. And sometimes, and I don't know if this is LG's fault or not, but I know my S7 Edge also had a octa-core Snapdragon in it. I feel like the 820 in here is not switching to the big cores when it's needed, and so a lot of times the phone ends up being really sluggish at times, and it's not super often. Normally it's very snappy, everything works very well, but there's once in a while where for 20-30 minutes of use while I'm sitting on lunch at work or whatever it may be, it just feels so slow. It feels like it won't do anything, and I'm not entirely sure why this is. It doesn't seem to be location dependent. It's kind of random. So I don't think it's anything to do with like the LTE radio or something like that. But the phone will actually get really warm too. Like, it's working really hard, and I don't know if that is the smaller cores being pushed to, you know, their max, so to speak, and the bigger cores not kicking in when they realistically should, because, you know, the smaller cores are supposed to save power, but if you're pushing them to 100%, the phone is still going to get warm. And so I don't know what exactly it is. Even after a reboot, a lot of times it won't be fixed right away. It seems to just go away on its own and come back on its own. So that's something that's frustrating me a little bit, but at least the phone's stable. And honestly, it's not, I have had phones that have done that worse than this phone. I've had phones that have slowed down quicker over time and just felt sluggish all the time, especially back, you know, a couple of years ago when that was more of a problem. But in today's age, really it shouldn't, you know, feel that slow. It should feel incredibly snappy when it's new, and it should still feel pretty freaking quick 6 months, a year down the road. And that's how the S7 Edge still felt to me when I had that. Now, when it comes to the physical build of this though, and the physical durability, you know, it's held up really well. It's a military spec device. You know, as they all say, military spec doesn't necessarily mean it's actually a durable device, because there's a lot of different specifications, but it is really well done when it comes to the way it holds up. I have dropped it several times on carpet, on concrete, and I've let it sit in my pocket. Now, the work I do, I've had this phone back when I worked in a factory where I was grinding on metal stuff all day, and there was a very dusty environment. We were required to wear face masks there, and none of the ports or anything stopped working on this because of dust or anything like that. So it's very well built when it comes to the dust resistance. And now I'm actually working in a warehouse, and I oftentimes am carrying very heavy items, and I end up setting them on my leg without realizing that my phone's right here. And it puts a lot of pressure on this, and it's never damaged it. It's never broken anything on it. So I'm impressed by that. Now, the back is a little bit scuffed up, but really not too bad. I'll get some B-roll of that for you guys, but it's really pretty well, you know, pretty good when it comes to the quality of the back piece here, which makes sense. It is metal, and it is removable, which actually one thing that LG, I'm pretty sure they must have designed it this way. When you do drop this phone from X height, you know, however it lands, it tends to pop off the back piece, which absorbs some of that energy, and sometimes the battery will even come out. And so that's really good there, is the energy is not going directly into the screen or the camera lens or any of the other internals. So it tends to help the phone survive drops a little bit better than other phones would. Now, the overall, the sides of it have actually held up incredibly well. They look like new, even though I've had several drops that have landed on the corners and stuff. It holds up really well. I love metal on phones. It really helps a lot. So I mean, it's really surprising how nice the edges here are, considering it has fallen on them quite a bit. Now, when it comes to the screen though, and the camera lens, which as far as I know are both Gorilla Glass 4, I know the screen is, I think the lens is as well. They've held up pretty well, but they have scratched a little bit, and it's not really enough to notice in day-to-day use. It's just you have to have just the right lighting on it in order to really notice the scratching, except for on the lens. It's actually a little bit easier to see those, but it's not directly over the camera itself, so it hasn't affected my image quality at all. But no breaks or cracks or anything, which is actually a problem that people were having with the camera lens here. Is there were some people that said it broke really easy. I haven't ever had it break, and I've dropped it, I've put pressure on that, so I don't know. I mean, your mileage may vary in that area, but I think it's held up really well, even though it's a fairly good protruding camera lens, especially considering how large it is. It doesn't stick out that far, but it's just really large because you've got 2 cameras here, 2 laser sensors, and 2 flashes. So it is a pretty large piece there. But when it comes to the screen itself, yeah, there's quite a few actual scratches on there if you get it in just the right light with the screen off. If the screen's on, you're not going to notice them at all. I haven't ever noticed a scratch with my screen on, but there's definitely quite a few kind of micro abrasions that happen to it. Now, that's kind of a thing I've noticed that happens to Gorilla Glass over time, is you may see people take keys or knives to it when the phone's brand new and try really hard to scratch it, and they can't find any scratches on it. But from what I've noticed, is doing that over a very long period of time repeatedly eventually does start to scratch it. And sometimes, I'll throw this in my bag with keys or something like that, and it has over time produced very small micro abrasions on it that, again, aren't noticeable in daily use. It's not really bothersome. It just sucks when I'm trying to admire how pretty the phone is and seeing scratches on the screen here. Now, again, it's, you wipe off all the fingerprints and you can kind of see them, but they're not a huge deal. I don't have any big ones so far that really annoy me, except for on my secondary screen up top here. There are actually some that are up on that top bezel that I can see fairly easily, even in daily use, because that screen up there stays pretty dim most of the time. So even when I'm using the main screen, that screen is still got black on it, so I can see those scratches if the light hits it just right. Now, obviously this phone isn't waterproof, but I will say that I've used it in the rain several times and it's gotten fairly wet. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have done that, but it has not caused any problems at all, so I'm very happy about that as well. Your mileage may vary. I wouldn't recommend getting this wet, but it does feel like they've done a pretty good job in just keeping the ports and stuff sealed well enough that it doesn't cause any damage. The ports have also held up very well, and same with the buttons. So all my ports still work with headphones, microphone, charging, all that, despite getting very dusty. And I've never cleaned out this phone because I'm only gonna have it here probably another few weeks until I get the S8. So I've never really cared about cleaning out this phone, and it still worked perfectly fine. I've been really impressed actually with how this has held up in comparison to other devices I've had. It's very clearly the most durable device I've ever owned, and LG's been pretty good about that with their V series of phones. The V10 was also a very durable device. And again, the buttons are just as clicky as they were brand new. They haven't gotten scratched or scuffed or anything like that. I believe they're metal buttons, although I haven't actually tested that myself. But yeah, they've held up very well. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching this video. Let me know what you think of these durability reviews that I'm trying to do, or durability overviews. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of me doing this on more of my products. I've been trying to do it to more, like I said, with my monitor durability overview, which you can check out up there. I think it's just something that really gives you an idea a few months later how it's holding up. Of course, to really see if it holds up to the test of time, we'd have to wait a year or two, and that's something where the device is irrelevant at that point. That's why I like to wait like 6 months, is a lot of times devices that come out 6 months later, they're still relevant, just cheaper. Whereas if I were to talk to you about this in 2018 or 2019, how did this phone hold up? Nobody'd care. I mean, it might be an interesting video to see how LG, has built their phones to hold up really well, but you don't know if they're going to do that to every one of their phones, so it doesn't really help anybody. Anyway, though, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. Down in the description, don't forget to check out our Minecraft servers, our gaming channel, which we're going to be putting content on soon, and also go ahead and join our forums if you're interested in talking to us. We check the forums whenever anybody posts. So thank you for watching.